Great stuff. Thanks, Dean. You recently performed as one of the free lunchtime gigs as part of this year's Westport Arts Festival. How did that go?
Well, it went pretty well. It was a lovely gig, really enjoyable, because a lot of the gigs that I play here in Westport, I find that you have to play a lot of the Camorleys, like Spansel Hill. There, like is one of my favourite songs. But I like to give it a new twist and try and give it a kind of modernise things a little bit. You get a bit tired of playing the same songs.
Yeah,
Mr. Galway Girl again, you know. So it was great at the Arts Festival to be given permission to play the songs that I just really love to play, you know, the songs I play at home or in parties. And I played with my friend Brian Parsons, who I've been playing with a little bit over in Lewisburg. And he's a spectacularly good guitar player, and he's got kind of a lot of flamenco influences and classical influences, and I feel lucky to be able to play with him. So it was great to be able to sort of really play what we wanted to play. You know, it was really enjoyable. Yeah, could have been better attended, folks, but it was really nice.
Yeah, we won't say much more about that now. And you mentioned Brian Parsons. Where and when did the two of you first start to collaborate?
I've been aware of Brian around for a couple of years. He's from Dublin, and he's a friend of. He's the partner of a friend who lives over in Lewisburg. So, but we've only been playing regularly now the last few months. We play in the Chuck na Knoll over there in Lewisburg every Saturday, and so I haven't been playing that long. But whatever song I come up with, anything I want to play. My goodness, he's straight in there with something that makes it sound better, you know. So, he's really good.
It's a happy marriage.
It is, yeah.
And so, who would be your influences musically? Like, would you come from a musical background?
Well, my mum and dad are both fine singers. My dad's gone now, but he was a great Dean Martin fan and nearly a Dean Martin impersonator as well. You know, he could really sing like him, and he named me after him, of course. You know, so. And so Dean Martin would have been in the house I grew up in, and Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra and some of those. But then teenage years, it was Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and all that stuff. And then got a bit folky with Roy Harper and Bob Dylan. I also Bob Dylan taught me to play the guitar. I got a little songbook with the box chords and gradually worked out blowing in the wind from that, and that's how I learnt to play the guitar. So I've never met him now, but he taught me to play. And then in later years, John Martin would be a massive influence. That slapping style of pick I do, straight out of the John Martin nick, that stuff. So. I've been in lots of bands. I was in bands in London. I was in a band called the Proles. We were very anarcho-socialist lyrics and pumping that kind of looking for change. Really, we were looking for change in those days. And since I've been here, I've played in Westport with some just fine musicians. I play regularly with Johnny Fadgen and Dan Delaney and Connie Cullen, and I feel privileged to play with those guys. They're really good, and so that's where I am sort of musically now.
And you also have a very talented daughter in Rosa. Can you lay claim to being a big influence in her music, or is it all her own doing?
Well, a bit like myself. I mean, she does have lessons here in town, but she, a bit like myself, I think when I was a teenager, once I had a guitar, I was sort of in the bedroom plonking away, and I think that's really where the learning mostly comes from. I mean, she can read music, unlike me. She did recorder lessons for a while, and but she's a talent. Yeah. Rosa Kinsler, listen there. She's only 13, and she's writing songs and fantastic.
And am I right in thinking she won Westport's Got Talent at some stage?
She did. She won it last year. Yeah, sort of co-won it with some
Finn.
And Finn was doing some rapping with Finn Costello.
Yeah, that's it.
And lovely. And Rose has done a few gigs now this year when I've been doing early gigs, you know, up in Westport House there and different places. I make sure she gets in and does 20 minutes, half an hour, and she's quite experienced now for a 13-year-old. Really, she's doing very well. Yeah. My son's there. He's at keyboard lesson. Dan now. He's doing his keyboard lessons, and he's kind of into that side of things. And I think Kai's keen on the drums, a bit like yourself. But we haven't got him any yet. I'm putting it off.
Well,
having a drum kit in the living room.
A few pots and pans will do at the moment. And you mentioned earlier that it's when you're playing alongside Brian that you suffuse popular songs with the hints of flamenco guitar. And how and where does the flamenco come into your life?
In all honesty, that's Brian really.
Yeah.
You know I mean, Brian is really, you know, I could play something, you know, I don't know, from Bob Dylan or something like that, and he'd just be putting that feeling of a bit of flamenco in there, you know. That's
embellishing it.
Embellishing it, yeah. So not so much me, but I love Spain. I've travelled in Spain a good bit, and but I couldn't claim to have any flamenco skills. I like listening. Paco de Lucia is one of my favourite guitar players, all right, but I can't play anything like him.
And you mentioned a lot of musicians there as influences like John Martin, but not too many present musicians. Do you have any contemporary music that you'd listen to, and if so, who?
Well, you know, I have to admit, really, hands up, I'm a bit of an old hippie, really, and I'm not a regular updater, but Rose are coming through now. She's sort of exposing me to different things. We all had to go up and see Ed Sheeran there in Dublin last year, and you know, I think he's a fantastic talent, really, great singer and guitar player and writer. But I'm a bit out. I have to admit, it kind of stopped somewhere along the line. I'm not quite sure where it stopped, but
I think it happens for all of us unless something happens in the meantime to reignite it.
Yeah.
So we're going to let you go now, but just before we finish up, I'm going to ask you if you can play us another song. Can you tell us what you're going to play and why have you chosen this particular song?
Well, okay. This one is a bit different to the last one. And this, as I was saying to you before, that I mentioned on Facebook the other day that I was going to be doing this radio thing, and I said, any suggestions for songs? And I was flooded with them from England and Germany and different places. But one suggestion came up, and it was just it was so bizarre. I thought I'd have to do it, and it's actually a song by the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, and although it's originally, I think, a 1920s song anyway, and yeah, it's dedicated to all the farmers out there listening. Happy farmers. And I'd just like to mention, as I sing this song, that I'm singing it for you just covered in sequins. There's a farm called Misery, but of that we'll have none, 'cause we know of one that's always lots of fun, ha ha. This one's name is Jollity, believe me folks, it's great, for everyone calls out to us as we go through the gate. All the little pigs, they grunt and howl, the cats meow, the dogs bow wow, everybody makes a row down on Jollity Farm. All the little pigs, they grunt and howl, grunt, howl, grunt, howl, the cats meow, 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 the dogs bow wow, ruff, 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 everybody makes a row down on Jollity Farm. All the little birds go tweet, 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 the lambs all bleat, shake their feet, everything's a perfect treat down on Jollity Farm. Regular as habit, the cocks begin to crow cock-a-doodle-doo, and the old buck rabbit sings, stuff it up your jumper, vo-do-de-o. All the little ducks go quack, 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 the cows all moo, the bull does too, everyone says how do you do down on Jollity Farm.
Excellent stuff. Dean, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time to come into the studio and play a tune or two for us. And are you going to be performing anywhere in Westport over the coming weeks?
Well, I play every Thursday evening in the Porterhouse, and every Saturday in Lewisburg in the Chockner Knoll. And sure, you could soon find me, I'm sure, if you wanted to book me, guys and gals. Thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah,
it's been great having you. So we're going to play some more music now, and there's only one way to follow Dean, and that's with some War. So here we go with a bit of War. Oh, bear with me.
Shuffle, Saturday mornings between 10 and 12 on WRFM 98.2.